I'd like to call the meeting to order tonight. First order of business is the roll call.
Supervisors Kelly, Rutkowski, and McReynolds are excused. Supervisor Coleman has just requested a virtual link, so we will try and get her connected. Everyone else is in the chambers.
Thank you. Now, if we could just stand for a couple moments of for silent meditation. And now the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 4 is public comment. Pursuant to section 2-72 of the Racine County Code of Ordinances, each speaker is allotted 3 minutes. Vice Chairman Meyer will be keeping track. So we have two people addressing the board tonight. First of all is Deacon Robert Bagley.
Good evening.
If you could give your name and address.
Sure, I'm Bob Bagley. Live at 1435 Spring Valley Drive in beautiful Racine, Wisconsin. Been a 39-year Racine County resident. And I'm an Episcopal deacon. I'm also a member of the Racine County or Racine Interfaith Coalition's Education Task Force. And we've been looking at the 2025 Green Book, and we've come up with some measures of how we're doing as a county. All measures in this document, and I have a copy for each of you of my remarks, have been sourced from the current edition of the Racine Green Book produced by the Wisconsin Counties Association. These data are defined as dollars spent per capita for each respective county. Note, Racine County is the 5th largest county in terms of population. There are 72 counties in Wisconsin. For each measure, the counties are ranked from first to last. First measure we have is human services. Racine County ranks 72nd out of 72 counties in the state. In highway spending, we're 72nd out of 72 counties in the state. When it comes to total spending, Racine County is 60th. 59 counties spend more per capita than we do. State aids, some of all Wisconsin funds, money that we get back from the state, we are 65 counties receive more than we get. In property taxes, we're 61st. 60 counties tax at a higher rate. Property levy is 64th. 63 counties have a higher rate. And county debt, we are 12th. Well, 11 counties owe more. The Racine County has ignored the needs of its citizens. The average county uses 1/3 of its budget to support human services and underfunds highway construction and maintenance. These two basic functions help to define why county boards exist. No other entity is charged with these responsibilities. Racine County Board does not effectively use alternative revenue sources. For example, Racine County does not access Wisconsin state funds to supplement and enhance county property, real estate, and sales tax funds. By not actively pursuing dollars from the state, we are leaving money on the table for other counties to spend on their needs to the detriment of Racine citizens and taxpayers. Where are the members of the State Assembly and Senate from this county in securing Wisconsin state funds that we pass up?
15 seconds.
The Racine County Board focuses on low tax rates and a low levy to the exclusion of any other. By severely underfunding health and human services, the Racine County Board has put Racine County residents at unnecessary risk. Healthy governments don't balance their budgets on the back of those in needs.
Time is up.
My conclusion, you'll want to read that. Thank you.
Okay, so there are handouts if you'd like to pick them up at the ends of the railing there on the way out. Next up is Mike Frontier.
Good evening again. And again, thank you for serving our community. Last week or 2 weeks ago, I shared with you this data from United Way showing the poverty or the working poor are dispersed throughout the county. And I was amazed to learn what we need to survive. A family of 4 in Racine County needs $43 an hour. This is a family with some childcare needs, which is a significant amount. I know you're in the throes of a budget, building a budget, and I know there's tremendous pressure on this budget. Your county executive, when we met with him about some of our concerns that Pastor Bagley discussed, he told us they're looking to see if we're right-sizing public safety. Right now, Kenosha, with 20,000 fewer people, spends $13 million less in public safety in Racine County. And I just heard the mayor's State of the City message last night. And he pointed out that violent crime is way down, significantly down. But what's happening? Domestic violence is up. And I'm just surmising here. I think the pressures of trying to make it today, to make $43 an hour in a family, is putting a lot of stress. And who responds to that stress? Health and Human Services. We all know you have tremendous leadership there. And I know I know your hearts, you want to continue that. We need to protect that and increase that. There's tremendous burden on our families right now. So as that public safety report comes in, and I hope you'll look at it judiciously, because I know all the pressures you're under. The marina, the new detention center, the windows at the courthouse that when we met with Jonathan were rattling, you know. There's tremendous pressure on the budget, but this crunch on families is something that your Health and Human Services Department, I think, is the only place in town that can get support for. Thank you as you build this critical budget for our community.
Thank you. Any further public comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 5. UW Extension. Pam Larson, how are you doing? Awesome.
Great.
What can you tell us today?
All right. Well, I want to thank you for the invite. We very much appreciate that. And thank you, all of you, for your time this evening. I was here back in January, and that was when Daniel Foth joined me to do an orientation. And at that time, it was a committee of the whole meeting. And I really focused on high level what's extension, especially because we have some newer supervisors. Today, I was invited to come in, and this time I'm going to focus more at the local level and the programming we're doing here. I'm still going to keep it quite high level due to time. So you're very busy. And so but I still want to share some of our programming initiatives. So on the screen is who we are. And extension really is the extension of UW-Madison. And we bring the Wisconsin idea to life. So we bring the research and resources of the university into the community. And we do that through programming and through doing direct education, and as well as, again, just for being a resource for others. We cannot do this alone. And so I thank you so much for being such a strong partner of ours. We have had for many years a triangular partnership where it was the UW system, it was Racine County, and it was the USDA. And so long-standing partnership. And we are an educational research to the county, whether it's the county departments themselves, whether it's a municipality, or it could be organization, whether, again, nonprofit, could be school. Then also in return, or as part of that, as part of our relationship, it's also a financial relationship. So you provide funding every year for us. Thank you very much, through the budget, right? And it covers educator salaries and fringes, office space, technology, among other things. And then UW-Madison does pay for the remainder of those salaries. We provide research and specialists and statewide resources, among other things and programs. There we go. For those of you who have been with a supervisor, let's say 2019 and prior to that, we used to on our annual report have this dollar bill, and we put percentages of the county contributions, the state contributions, et cetera. This was my version of that instead of doing the dollar bill. I thought just sharing with you return on investment. So Racine in the 2024 for contracted services, you could see that. And then in the orange is the UW-Madison investment. And then we do have educators who write for grants. And so there's also the grant funding there in the green and how that breaks out. And then on the right-hand side is those various grants. So you can see that the ones that were awarded in 2024 from the UW Prison Education Initiative to the Wisconsin DNR IRA, United Way Racine County that helps fund one of our educators, a Sparks grant, and the Juntos program, which is a career and college readiness program. And then 4-H is so unique because 4-H, we have the third largest program in the state. We have a lot of adult volunteers who dedicate many, many hours. We have youth who dedicate hours. And yet, how do you put a figure on that, right? It's not like the left-hand side and the others, the right-hand side are real, we'll call it real money, right? But yet time is money as well. And so we have over 5,000 hours of volunteer time in 2024 alone that dedicated to our community. Hopefully this looks familiar. This was set on your desktop in June. I have additional copies over by Wendy there at the corner if you'd like another copy or want to review it. But this is why we're here today, to take a look at that annual report and some of the highlights of the annual report. On the left-hand side are the numbers in 2024, and numbers are important, and yet we are so much more than our numbers too, because we also sit on coalitions, and we are on, for instance, the county level safety and well-being committee, and we organize the Western Racine County networking breakfast every year. We publish and distribute the Racine County Family Resource Directory. We go to resource fairs. Our horticulturalists worked with Aurora Hospital on their community garden. So numbers are definitely, that's direct programming, and yet we do more than direct educational programming. So some 2024 program highlights. John, I don't know if I'm just not pushing it in the right spot or, okay. Hopefully this face looks familiar. This is Maria, and Maria is our positive youth development educator, and she oversees or supports, I should say, instead of oversees, the youth and governance program. So many of you know her from her involvement with the board. Maria really focuses on youth voice, leadership skills, civic engagement, and career and college readiness. So the Youth and Governance program is a perfect example of an experiential learning opportunity where youth are engaged civically and they also have their youth voice infused into local government. And then Juntos is just one example of a career and college readiness program that Maria implements in the county, and it really does focus on first generation youth, whether it's trades, or a university, 2-year, 4-year. We really, it isn't about going to Madison, not at all. It's more about what are your options after you graduate from high school. And then in 2024, she applied for and received the Sparks grant. That was in the other slide. And that really had a focus on youth with disabilities and their voice in the county. And they held a community conversation, and thank you. There are a couple supervisors who attended that, much appreciated. And they also presented at the Youth as Partners and Civic Leadership Conference in November, which is a state conference. Another positive youth development educator is Liz. Now 4-H, oftentimes when we think of extension or you ask people about extension, they think of ag and 4-H. And we understand, especially when extension first started as an agriculture program, and then eventually 4-H got involved. And as you'll see, as we continue to hear that again and again, we're so much more. So Liz really does focus on youth leadership and service. That's a big thing, as you can see, the community service and all the different community service opportunities available to youth. And then that experiential learning by doing. And those county programs, we have 70 of them. So these are just a small snapshot. So we really can meet a lot of youth sparks. And then again, couldn't do it without adult members. They really help our youth learn and grow. And kudos to us because we have the third largest program in the state. And last year alone, we had 320 first generation members. So we can continue to grow the program. Oh, you're doing it now. Next, we have VJ, who's our horticulture educator. VJ is our one faculty member, so he has additional responsibilities, and those include research. So he conducts trials every year, and so you can see the trials that he engaged in last year. He also does teaching or direct programming, just as our other educators do. He coordinates programs and belongs to professional services. VJ is a 0.5 appointment for Racine, his services that we also share with Kenosha County. Anne is new, or she started in July of 2024. So this is a snapshot of what she did during her first 6 months with Extension. This used to be a general ag position, and then the position was open for about 3 years. And so one of the individuals I talked to was Jonathan Delagrave, and we talked about narrowing the focus and agreed, let's go with the diversified vegetable and emerging crops educator. And so Anne started in that position, like I said, in July. And so really her time was spent meeting with farmers. So our small farm growers and emerging crops farmers, and just really learning the needs of the community before she begins implementing programs, which now she's started in 2025. But that's that part of just getting to know like who's in the community and what are their needs. Oops, went the wrong way. Sorry about that. Okay, next we have Sarah, and Sarah is a human development and relationships educator. Sarah's focus changed during the last year as well based on community needs. We're always trying to get a feel for what the community residents are requesting. She still does parenting classes, absolutely, but now she does, her primary focus is financial security. It really has become a need in the county. So well-attended programs, a variety of different programs as well. She also coordinates the Western Racine County Networking Breakfast, and she's been with us a long time, so just really has a good pulse on the community as well. Thank you. Pam is our other humanity development and relationships educator. Her focus is on literacy, school readiness, family resiliency, and she does and parenting classes, and she spends a lot of her programming with families that are involved in the justice system. She just retired this year, so we just actually had final interviews today. So her position will be filled soon. And she does a variety of parenting workshops, literacy workshops. She worked with 2 of our facilities to make their visiting spaces more family friendly so that when there are child-parent visits, they can interact and they actually learn about interaction skills, and then they apply them immediately, like the next week when they do the parent-child visit. We also have a Food Wise program, which falls in our Health and Wellbeing Institute. This Food Wise focuses on nutrition education, leading an active lifestyle, making the healthy choice the right choice, we'll say, or the best choice. They do program with youth and with adults, spend a lot of time in the school system. I'm doing education there too. As you may have heard in the news, the SNAP education program was eliminated in the budget. So the impact here at the county level is we lost 3 educators, our office administrative assistant and our program administrator. We also lost our teaching coordinator. However, she will remain as an FNEP educator, and in the end, we will have 2 FNEP educators left. So the good news is there will still be some nutrition education in Racine County, beginning October 1 of this year. It's just will be greatly reduced because we won't have as many educators. And then impacts. Impacts are important as well. And we have several, however, more than several, but I thought I'm only going to pick a few and I'm not going to read the entire screen to you. So this one impact was from FoodWise. Where a fourth grade teacher shared that the students now are talking about eating more vegetables and fruit at home and during lunch, that the programming was informative and engaging, it's beneficial, and please continue this much needed program as it reaches students who may not otherwise be provided the opportunity to learn about the nutritional and non-nutritional values of foods that they eat. This program allows them to learn about healthy eating choices at an early age. The next impact was from a participant in our encouraging financial planning sessions, and she said that the sessions were very insightful and relevant, that she learned many different approaches and talking points, and that she shared several resources, or that the educator shared several resources that have been helpful tools to her, both as a participant and a parent and a resident of the county. And the final impact I will share is from Pam White-Kirsch, who is our school readiness and family resiliency educator who just recently retired. She shared an impact for a family who had originally gone through our Positive Solutions for Families workshop in 2020 and found it so valuable that they returned. And so once the family came back, they said that they were taking this as a refresher and that they believe the strategies that they hadn't adopted with their older child may be beneficial for their younger child, that they recognize that each of their children are different and will thrive by them using specific strategies to meet their individual needs. So just to share some of the impacts of our programming. And then I started with this visual, kind of ending with this visual, just showing again, we have 6 different institutes. In Racine County, we have 2 ag educators. At this time, we do not have a community development educator. We do not have a dedicated health and well-being educator, although we have the 2 FNEP educators that will be remaining. We have 2 human development and relationships educator. We don't have any natural resources educators and 2 positive youth development educators. That doesn't mean though that we don't have specialists and resources in all of those institutes. And as a county, you can access them. So you can contact me or you can work through one of our educators if you'd rather contact them, and we can bring these services into the county. And there's always an opportunity, like if, for instance, if you decided as a group, like, we really would like a community development educator, then that's a conversation we would have at that point. So at times there have been counties who have added educators as well, depending on the need. I also invite you to attend an Extension Education Committee meeting. We meet the 3rd Monday at 4 o'clock right here, but just upstairs in the Public Works Conference Room. We have a meeting on Monday, but every month we have a highlighted educator presentation. So it enables you to dive deeper into one particular program and ask questions, plus our educators give reports. So would love to see you join us for that. And then I would definitely in the next year welcome a return presentation where we could do something, perhaps again, a program highlight, or if there's a committee who would think like, oh, let's have our health and our human development relationships educator come and do a program. So just know that that door's open, and we would love to share with you what we do. And I don't know if you have any questions now. I also have my contact information because I do understand you have a meeting. So if you would prefer contacting me with the email or on my cell, I welcome that. And again, the annual report is on the corner there if you'd like another copy. So thank you, Chair Kramer.
Well, I've got Supervisor Horth would like to.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I heard you mention specifically the Western Racine County
Yes.
networking, and it might have been Sarah was the name.
It is.
What does that entail?
We bring family serving agencies together in Waterford, like meaning we hold it in Waterford, and we have a breakfast, and then it's a resource fair, and also each organization stands up and shares what it is they do, what programs they have, what resources are available. And so we just learn even more of those different services available in the community. We used to have an Eastern one, but we haven't had one for a while.
If I could request, including me on the next invitation, considering that's my backyard, I'd be interested to know a little
Sure.
more about it. So thank you very much and appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
And any other questions? Supervisor Pritzker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. After hearing your presentation, I'm not sure where this might fit, but I'll ask the question anyway. We have a shortage in the county and all of southeastern Wisconsin of first responders and people in the trades. What, if anything, can the UW Extension do to maybe help fill that need for the community? I think it would solve a lot of issues, including some of them that Mr. Frontier brought up when he presented and asked some questions before you. There's a lot of good paying jobs there and the county really has a need there.
I think part of that is, at least with the youth, we can share information about the trades as we do so that they know that is a viable option. As far as immediate concerns, we need people who can jump in right now. That I would have to speak with people at state level to see like community development and see if they have any, the institute, and see if they have any ideas.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I just want to say, Pam,
Yes.
with the 1,100 or so 4-Hers out at the fair,
Yes.
it makes the fair a lot of fun.
Oh.
It's just, you go through there and you see all, I mean, photography used to be a corner. Now it's a building.
Mm-hmm.
And the livestock. I mean, everybody's got a phone on their desk here, so any other questions? Well, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Always.
Thank you all for your time.
Item number 6, reading of the minutes of the previous meeting, which is automatically waived unless requested by a majority of the members present. Resolution, item number 7, resolutions and ordinances referred to committee.
There are none.
Item number 8, introduction of resolutions and ordinances for first reading and referral.
We have none listed on tonight's agenda.
However, Supervisor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last night, the Health and Human Development Committee met with the Human Services Board, and the committee unanimously recommended that it send the resolution on your desk, Resolution 2025-35, which is a proactive communication to the state of Wisconsin to urge that the state assist in any future increased administrative costs for the federal food share programs. So I would ask I would ask unanimous consent that be introduced for first reading tonight.
We have unanimous consent.
This would be resolution number 2025-35 by the Health and Human Development Committee in support of state investment for income maintenance administration.
Item number 9, communications and claims.
Number 1, notice of exemption from county tax for library services for the year 2026 from Graham Public Library in the Village of Union Grove. Number 2, dog listing letters from villages of Mount Pleasant, Caledonia, Raymond, Rochester, Sturtevant, Waterford, and Yorkville, and the towns of Burlington and Waterford.
Items number 1 and 2 are received and filed in the county clerk's office.
Number 3, Racine County Facilities Management Notable Project Status Report for the month of August 2025.
Item number 3 is referred to the Public Works, Parks, and Facilities Committee.
Number 4, notice the Agricultural Impact Statement Program has published AIS 4653 for the proposed interstate natural gas pipeline in Brown, Racine, Sheboygan, Waukesha, and Winnebago, Wisconsin by the A&R Pipeline Company from the Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection. Number 5, letter regarding an application of American Transmission Company LLC as an electric public utility for a certificate of public convenience and necessity to construct and operate the Elm Road Racine Transmission Line project consisting of new 345 kV transmission line located primarily in the city of Oak Creek, Milwaukee County, the city of Racine, and the villages of Mount Pleasant and Caledonia, Racine County, Wisconsin, from the Public Service Commission of Wisconsin. Number 6, resolution of the Plan Commission of the Village of Yorkville recommending approval of an ordinance amending the Village of Yorkville's comprehensive plan and land use map as set forth in a document entitled Village of Yorkville 2020 to 2050 Comprehensive Plan as it pertains to parcel ID 194-03-2120-021-000 located at 2705 South Colony Avenue in the Village of Yorkville, Racine County, from the agricultural, rural, residential, and open land classification to the commercial classification from the Village of Yorkville. And then number 7 is also the ordinance related to that same parcel.
Items number 4 through 7 refer to Economic Development and Land Use Planning Committee.
Items number 8 and 9 are claims against the county. And then items 10 through 12 are foreclosures of mortgage. And then items 13 through 30 are notifications from the United States Bankruptcy Court.
Items number 8 through 30 are referred to the Finance and Human Resources Committee and Corporation Council.
Copies. Supervisor Wishaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like copies of number 1, 2, 8, and 9, please.
Supervisor Horth.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I request copies of 3 through 7, please.
Supervisor Spencer.
And copies of number 2 and number 4.
Supervisor Hoffman.
I get copies of 3, 8, and 9.
Supervisor Shakur.
28, please.
Supervisor Cobb. Hope.
Copies of 4 through 7.
Supervisor Trotter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Copies of 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Copies of 6, 7, 8, and 9 as well, please.
And I'll take copies of 8 and 9. Any further requests? Seeing none, we'll move on. Communications from the county executive.
Report number 2025-31 by County Executive making a reappointment to the Local Emergency Planning Committee was referred to the Government Services Committee.
Supervisor
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Could
Excuse
you
me.
take them- That's quite all right. The next one too. Can we just take them both together, please?
Why don't we start with 31 and then we'll go to 36, right? We'll have to take them separately.
Oh, we do.
Separate, yeah.
All right, that's perfectly fine. 31 is a reappointment and it is Nick Nagelski and it is a term ending September 30th, 2027. So move to approve.
We have a motion to approve and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Next, we have report number 2025-36 by County Executive making a reappointment to the Local Emergency Planning Committee. This was also referred to the Government Services Committee.
Supervisor Capralian.
Very good. All right. This is another one that the committee did approve, and this is for Timothy Zock. And it is a reappointment ending September 30th, 2027. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 11, standing committee reports containing recommendations on items referred.
There are no reports.
Item number 12, second reading of resolutions and ordinances.
Under majority vote, we have ordinance number 2025-31 by Public Works, Parks and Facilities Committee amending section 12-46, paragraph 1 of the Racine County Code of Ordinances relating to temporary speed limits on sections of County Trunk Highway C. Resolution number 2025-32 by Finance and Human Resources Committee establishing parameters for the sale of not to exceed $25,510,000 general obligation promissory notes, Series 2025B. Resolution number 2025-33 by Finance and Human Resources Committee establishing parameters for the sale of not to exceed $7,500,000 in general obligation promissory notes, Series 2025C. And resolution number 2025-34 by Executive Committee delegating the authority to enter into settlement agreements with opioid defendants to the designated Racine County officer or officers.
For adoption was set for consideration for 2025-32 and 2025-33.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. So we'll take ordinance 2025-31 first. Supervisor Hopkins.
All right, so just briefly, ordinance 2025-31. This is for a temporary reduction in speed from 55 to 35 miles an hour. County Truck Highway C from 3,650 feet west of the intersection with County Truck Highway V to point 850 feet east of the intersection of that County Truck Highway V. This is due to 3 ongoing construction projects, so it is temporary from August 8th to December of this year, and it was unanimously approved by the board or by the committee.
Any questions on that? Supervisor Miller, Vice Chairman. Mr. Meyer. excuse
Thank
me.
you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Resolution number 2025-34 was unanimously presented by the Executive Committee in regards to more delegating more authority to make the opioid settlements easier by corporate counsel, and corporate counsel Lansdorf is here if there's any other questions for that resolution.
Does anybody have any questions, or does the Corp Council have any?
I'm happy to provide a general overview just for those who weren't in attendance at Executive Committee, but there's no new additional information to share.
Supervisor Hopkins, you got a question, or, okay. Supervisor Caprellian? All right. Seeing no questions. This is a majority vote on these 2 items. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. For the separate considerations, we'll start with 2025-32. Supervisor Trotter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2025-32. I'm going to go back a little bit and give a little history. In July of 2024, the county board did adopt resolutions 2024-28, 2024-29, and 2024-31 for various capital projects. The 911 radio project, the marina project, and the public safety project. Then moved to November 4th of 2024, the parameters were set for the principal amount of $17,100,000 at the rate of 6%. Robert Baird was a successful bidder, and the amount of $16,425,000 was obtained. The funds were used for the first phase of the 911 and the marina project. This resolution this evening is asking for $25,210,000 for the parameters of the 911 radio project and the start to the public safety building. Tonight, we are setting the parameters for this request of $25,210,000. I do have Kristen Hansen here from PFM to discuss the parameters of this request from the county board. Kristen. Come on up.
Come on up, Kristen. Go ahead.
And excuse me, Mr. Chairman, could we take these both combined? Is it possible? Because tonight we're asking for county board approval of the parameters for $7,500,000 of phase 2 for the marina project. So the 2 go hand in hand with her presentation.
We'll have a presentation, but we'll need to take separate votes.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, could I
just chime in with one comment, because I know this question has come up on occasion, and perhaps Kristen was going to address this as well, but this is still a relatively new tool used by the county, used successfully at the recommendation of our financial advisors, but occasionally the question comes up in the context of these parameters resolutions as to whether it's a simple majority vote, as noted in your agenda, or if this should be at the higher threshold of a 3/4 vote. Supervisor Trottier provided the numbers of those resolutions for those initial resolutions, each of which was at that 3/4 vote. Because none of the measures before you this evening are the initial resolution, rather these are the parameters resolutions, a simple majority vote is all that's needed under state statute. We vetted that internally in our office, as well as our financial advisors and bond counsel at Corals and Brady. So in the event that there were any questions about that, because it's come up before, it is a simple majority vote. Thank you.
Go ahead, Kristen.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Kristen Hansen. I'm a director at PFM Financial Advisors, and I'm going to walk through the PowerPoint. And Supervisor Trottier has kind of started setting the stage, providing the history. And so back in July, you did adopt the 4 resolutions for the 4 capital projects by the 3/4 votes. Those were the initial resolutions, and they required the 3/4 votes. And then you did the initial borrowings in the fall or late fall of 2024 for phase 1 of the marina, as well as the 911 radio infrastructure project. And so in 2025, you are looking, there are proceeds that are needed to complete the 911 radio infrastructure project. And then for phase 2 of the marina project, as well as to start financing schematic design and preliminary construction of the public safety building. So that's kind of what's being considered this evening. This just kind of shows the initial resolution amounts that were adopted in July of 2023. So you can see the marina, the 911 radio infrastructure project, the public safety building, and the mental health building. And you can see in 2024, the borrowings for the marina and the 911, which shows you the remaining authorization. This is important. Bond counsel uses this to keep track of what you've borrowed, and you know what the not to exceed amounts are. And if bids come in less, you don't have to borrow as much. So the sizing of for the 2 resolutions, the 25,510,000 GO promissory note series 2025B, that's for the remaining portion of the 911 radio infrastructure project and the first phase of the public safety building. You can see the borrowing amount on the right. We always want to make sure that everybody knows that what you borrow does not equal the dollars available for construction, because there are cost of issuance that are built into it, as well as we allow for what's called discount on the bonds. And what we've been seeing in the market lately is that underwriters aren't taking a discount. They're actually giving you more money than you need, than what you're asking for. We've been able to reduce bond issue sizes for our clients. We just did that today for a county that I had a bond sale for. For the $7.5 million, that's for phase 2, the series 2025C for phase 2 of the marina. So you can see that borrowing amount is $77,500,000, which gives a project amount of just under $7.4 million. And we have asterisks by there because those dollar amounts are subject to change. When we bring you to market, those dollar amounts may be that dollar amount, but depending on the type of bid, we may be able to reduce that issue size, which we've been seeing in the market as of late. So similar to what you saw last fall, and when you also passed the parameters resolutions for your CIP borrowing. So these resolutions have been prepared by bond attorneys, Corals and Brady. And so for the 2025B parameters resolution, the principal amount is that $25,510,000. We do have on a slide what the principal amounts may be. The true interest rate, cost rate, will not exceed 6%. Interest payments are on the same interest payment dates as your other debt, March 1st and September 1st, beginning March 1st of 2026. Principal payments are due March 1st, and this is a 20-year issue, so March 1st, 2026 to March 1st, 2045. We put in what's called a call feature, so this means that down the road, that if interest rates come down, you can refinance them. The last 10 maturities of the bonds, I'm calling them bonds. They are, legally they're notes. And then the finance director must report the sale results of the finance committee to the finance committee and the county board. And that will be happening for the CIP borrowing that we did earlier. So that will be coming up. The parameters resolution, similar for the Marina project, dollar amount is the 7.5 million, but the parameters are the same with the same not to exceed interest rate, the same interest payments, principal payments, a 10-year call, and that the results get reported to the finance committee and the county board. I'm old enough to remember film strips. I kind of want to beep. That dated me. This just shows where interest rates have been over the last 10 years for a AA credit. You are a AA credit. As you know, there have been times you come to market and interest rates have been very low. They've been rather volatile this year. However, with the feds talking about lowering interest rates next week, there's been kind of a rally in the market, and we've seen some interest rates coming down a little. More on the long end of the last 10 years than in the earlier years. This just shows the proposed schedule for the debt service. This needs to go out in the offering document when the bids get taken. Like I said, depending on how the bids get received, we've been able to, restructure the debt and also sometimes reduce the par amount of the issue. So this basically shows your existing debt service for all of your outstanding GO debt, including the 2025 notes that were sold earlier this year with the offsetting assessment for the that you're getting from Foxconn as well as marina fees. This shows kind of the proposed schedule, possible schedule, but like I said, we will be able to kind of, once bids come in, kind of adjust that schedule to kind of meet the goals of the county. And then this shows what that existing mill rate will be for the existing debt and the outstanding debt. And this just kind of shows the steps that have happened to get here. Obviously, in 2024 was when you adopted the initial resolutions for the projects. August 26th, the finance committee, received the presentation, and the first reading was adopted here at the county board. And then tonight is the consideration of the second reading of these parameters resolutions. Once we decide on a possible sale date, then we kind of work backwards and we set up a rating call with S&P. We set up a due diligence call with Disclosure Council, and then we get the preliminary statement posted in the out there for the underwriting community to see. And then we take bids on that date, determine when it looks like a good time to bring you to market. We try to stay away from dates like when the feds are meeting, or when some like CPI data is coming out, things like that can make the market kind of a little bit more uncertain.
So Supervisor Brandt.
So is the interest rate of these bonds set in the mid-October 25 sale timeframe?
It would be set then.
That's when it's set.
Yes.
Thank you.
And because you might wanted to know, it was a city, it was not a Wisconsin county. The county I sold for today was only 10-year paper, but they sold 20-year notes. It was bank qualified, so the issue was less than 10 million, but the interest rate was just over 4% today. That's where the market was today. I did get asked a question from somebody today, where do you think the market's going to be in the next 10 years? I can't answer that.
Supervisor Pritzker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With this bond issue, where will we stand in terms of our debt capacity? Is
Don't
that not
have-
a question for you?
No, it is a question for me, but I did not bring that information. You are well within your, debt capacity. As you know, it's equal to 5% of your equalized value. We can provide that calculation with this debt, so you know what it is.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Kolb.
Just because these are longer term debts, even if the Fed reduces, that doesn't, these are based more off of long-term bond rates, aren't they? Or are they off the short-term Fed rates?
The market actually reacts to what the feds are going to do. And so what we've actually seen, because the market has thought recently that the feds are going to lower interest rates by 25 basis points or 0.25%. That's part of the reason in the last several days, we've actually seen both short-term and long-term rates on municipal debt come down. And it's actually on the longer-term bonds, we're seeing between 5 and 8 basis points or 0.05 to 0.08%. But we have a pricing group and I always ask them these questions, and it's interesting because they weren't sure. We're not sure about how they're going to react on the long term, because you said it, they're shorter term rates, but the market the bond market almost anticipates. And so the market's been reacting recently, and then once they make that decision, then it kind of settles down.
Any further questions? Supervisor Troutier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kristen, could you let individuals know about the refinancing of debt? As an example, what is the term that we have to maintain once the bonds are purchased that we can refinance the debt should the interest rate go down? I know there's a term out there. Could you just let the county board know when we could refinance this debt?
Correct. So as part of the parameters, we are putting in what's called a 10-year call or redemption feature. And what that says that which bonds, which maturities can be refinanced and at what price. And so basically what we're saying is that the last 10 maturities of this debt can be refinanced if interest rates are such that by refunding, you'd actually save money. You have to wait until within 90 days of the call date. That's because of some of the tax law changes several years ago. But that we put that in there. So you will have the latter half of the maturities of the bonds. You will be able to refinance if the market changes, and that you can save money. And we watch your debt to find out, whether or not you can refinance it. Some of the debt that you issued in the past several years, those interest rates are really low.
Supervisor Rossi.
Thank you, Chairman. Question, were there any, from the rating company, were there any sensitivities, negative outlooks conveyed for our rating?
We haven't had the rating call. This is setting the stage for the parameters, but we will talk about what, the rating agency says. They do like to, look at what kind of, financial management practices you have. They do look at your outstanding debt. I'm just kind of, from past rating reports, because of your region where you're located between Milwaukee and Chicago, and you're on, the interstate, and you're seeing a lot of economic development happening here, housing development, things like that. Those are the strengths, that you have, as a AA credit. So. But I will make sure that that's included in the PowerPoint for the finance results from the sale that we had.
Excellent, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, Kristen, just to clarify, that presentation, I believe, already occurred from the most recent sale? No? Okay, all right, sorry.
Supervisor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are we going to get at least an electronic copy of what we usually have it on our desk, but
We'll get that emailed out tomorrow to everybody. Any further questions? All right. So let's take resolution 2025-32. That's the parameters on the $25,510,000 obligation note. And this is a voice majority vote. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion carried. Then we'll take resolution 2025-33. This would be the parameters on the sale of not to exceed $7.5 million promissory notes. This is a voice majority vote. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion carried.
Sorry, I forgot. The 2/3 majority vote for this evening is resolution number 2025-30 by Finance and Human Resources Committee authorizing a multi-year contract with Flock Safety and transfer of $75,000 within the sheriff's 2025 budget.
Supervisor Trotter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Addressing Resolution 2025-30, I do have Captain Evans here to discuss in detail the expectation, the process, and the hopeful results of this non-matching grant of $75,000. Captain Evans, could you run through an explanation of the purpose of this grant and what the process may be and the expectations?
Sure, absolutely. I brought a short presentation. I'm going to work with John here to work the slides along. Excuse me if I cough in the middle. I happen to catch something from my little germ monsters at home. So we'll get this up here. And Supervisor Miller, I heard you ask for a printed copy. Unfortunately, tonight I did not bring printed copies, but this can be shared. So ALPR, helper is what you're going to hear a lot of cops refer to it as. Basically, it's what you're looking at right there. It's a solar powered camera system like any other camera, right? The unique function of this is it zooms in on license plates and it catches a license plate picture. It's real-time vehicle data, enhances our ability to isolate key suspects in crimes involving vehicles. And the next slide, I'm going to get into a little bit more about what goes on with that, but the technology itself is truly just a solar powered camera. It's the software that we're paying for that powers the camera, which makes it so unique. So I think it's interesting to look at this. The International Association of Chiefs of Police, as well as Burla, and if you look it up, you'll find a stat from Carfax as well. They all place crimes in America right now being at 75 to 80% involving vehicles. All crimes, 75 to 80% of them involve a vehicle. So we know as law enforcement, especially working in the west end of the county, that the majority of crimes that we investigate, which are day-to-day basis things, are going to involve a vehicle, right? Domestic violence, the vandalism of your property, the vandalism of your vehicle, all of that is going to have some nexus to a car. And that's probably going to be our first and best lead on how to investigate this crime. I had a neighbor recently put in a surveillance system and he told me how great it was, brought me to his house. He spent a lot of money on it, showed me the whole surveillance system. Years ago, I was an investigator and looking at this and I said, that's awesome. But that car that just drove by, that red vehicle that just drove by, who was that? And he says, I don't know. And I said, well, if they broke into your house and that's all I saw was that car drive by your Ring camera, what's my lead? I said, if you have the money, I would invest in putting a camera out front of your house that's going to catch any of the license plates that come in and out of your driveway. Your daughter has somebody that's harassing her. They pull in the driveway to egg the house. They get somewhere close. You know who it is. And now I've got a place to start. Otherwise, I don't have much. With systems like this, I can do a little bit of something called like vehicle DNA. So this system is pretty powerful. If you have stickers on your car, it can start picking up on the stickers. It can start picking up on the damage on the vehicle. So it doesn't just identify the vehicles that have license plates. It's also going to help us identify other things. I think it's really interesting to look at where we live, right? We all know that we live in Racine County, 200,000 residents, 333 square miles of land. Later this year, you'll hear me talk about it, but it's like 460 square miles of water. That's scary, right? But we're also in this metro area. We all know it. We don't think about it much. So Wisconsin metro area, just staying on this side of the state line, is 1.5 million people. Illinois, 9.5 million people. There's 11 million people within a 60-minute-ish drive from here. I did some quick math today using AI. Had it look up for me, what is that 60-minute drive time? What's the area that we'd have to search? If you're gonna think about like a call for service for us, a really bad thing, right? Maybe it's a kid that was kidnapped from a soccer game. It's gonna take us a little bit of time to start working on that. So if we assume that before we get there is 60 minutes, what's that area that we'd have to cover? In really good driving conditions, so probably somebody driving very poorly and driving very fast, we're talking about upwards of 7,800 square miles. That's Massachusetts. It's Massachusetts. Racine County every day has over 300,000 cars that pass through our community. We know that the crime that's committed here is not by people that live here. The majority of our property crimes are committed by people from Illinois or Milwaukee. So we know that we're behind the 8 ball already because we're looking for people that aren't even from here. So if we're working off of, well, I got a picture of the person, great. Nobody in this community knows them. We can't go out and show pictures and say, hey, who's this guy? We can't do that. All we have is a little bit of a lead to try to make something out of it and get an arrest. So this allows us to say, hey, you have a picture of the vehicle? Do you have a license plate? Do you have a make and model? It gives us a starting point. Just to put in perspective, 300,000 cars. If you counted one car every second, so it's easy to think 300,000, right? But if you count one car every second, how long does that take? It's 3 days, 11 hours, and 20 minutes to count 300,000 cars at one car a second. That's how many go through every day. And now I'm going to take an investigator and say, hey, go find me that black Honda Civic that vandalized the supervisor's house. Go find me that car that maybe stole the kid. That's a massive sift. That's hard to go through. This system gives us an ability to start sorting through that. It gives us a starting point. And by the way, it's free. So if we can go to the next slide, how did we end up with flock safety? So when I first came to the board to get the acceptance for the grant, I started out telling you guys I thought I was going to get 6 cameras. I negotiated with 3 different companies, a lot. We ended up with 10 cameras. There was a lot of negotiation back and forth on which cameras we needed for where. There was a lot put into what is the current network. I know that at this board, I was asked the question, why would we look at other things that were not flock when flock is what is in every community around us? It's already permeated Racine County. The only agency that doesn't have flock is us. Every other agency already has it installed. Every county around us has it installed. We're the last hangout, right? And that's rare for us. Normally we're on the cutting edge of technology, but this is free and we had to wait until we could make it palatable in the budget. Flock is a known industry standard. They have a track record of success. They have strong audit mechanisms. We have an ability to go through and see everything that everybody does within the system. And we're working through how to do an audit effectively. There is a problem with when you look at this level of data, and it's a lot. Imagine that 300,000 number I just gave you, right? Trying to have a supervisor effectively audit that so that we actually find problems. That's a heavy lift. That's a very heavy lift. I don't want Big Brother looking over my shoulder. I don't want Big Brother looking over my family's shoulder. I don't want him looking over my neighbor's shoulder. But when the problem comes up, I want to have the tools to do the job. So we have to find a way to balance this. So that's one of the things we've been working on extensively. I have some ideas that are probably going to go back to the company I've been speaking with our sales rep about for how they could do a better job of helping us audit. And we're looking at building some internal systems to do effective audits. This would put us in line with a cohesive county ecosystem as well, and the value that they bring. So Flock has an ability to do high-speed cameras, which allows us to cap both ends of the interstate. So we can actually collect data on what's on the interstate. So not only are we getting those things that are happening within our county, but when the Amber Alerts come out and we're looking for that car, we're going to know when it's passing through, and we won't have that person just passing through. We're going to be able to stop and make the recovery in real time right there. So if we want to go to the next slide, I think this is so important. I talked about it, right? Technology as we move forward, and you guys are all seeing AI. I played with it today a little bit to come up with some of these numbers. It's Orwellian, right? I mean, it is. It's crazy. It's incredible. And so we have to put the right parameters in place. We have a policy that was produced. It's to oversee our helpers. If you read through the policy, it also gives a statement in there that there should be random audits by supervisors. We have audits that already take place on a lot of our technology. body cams are audited between monthly and weekly, depending on who the officer is and what shift they're on, what their assignment is. We have to be careful to make sure that those audits are effective and that we don't overwhelm supervisors and have them just sign off and move on to the next thing. And so that's the part that we're building now. For us, we build that in procedure. That's built in something that's an internal document, that's built in something that we track ourselves. I would encourage any of you that are interested in that, come talk to us. We'd be happy to answer questions about it. Accessing this data is behind a password wall. It is limited access. It's not open to everybody. And also, when you access this data, it does not connect to NCIC to provide data through this system. So if you have a plate hit, you'd have to actually go run the plate to get the information on that plate. So this is not, it's not violating that CJIS compliance. It's a standalone system that's just collecting data, right? And our policy is available online, so there's nothing we're hiding. Like anything else we do, I would highly encourage any one of you, come for a ride along, come for a walkthrough, go for a tour. I think when you see what it is we do, how we do it, and why, it paints a very different picture. And go to the last slide here. This is the locations. And so it's very simple. This isn't in your neighborhood. This isn't down the street from your house. This is hitting all of the on-ramp, off-ramp areas, one of the highest trafficked areas in our entire county. This is hitting Highway 20 in between the 45s as 45 turns and goes north off of Highway 20. It's right in between those. And it's hitting Highway 36 out towards the west end. We identified the 2 additional locations off the interstate by our investigations. And so where we see flight paths from known property crimes and known other crimes. So that's how we identified those. Again, this isn't in your neighborhood. It's not where our intention is to put those. This sets up a really good safety net for us. We know where other cameras are in the area. And if you're curious, you can talk with your local jurisdictions if they'll answer it. But this allows us the ability to identify what's coming in our county, what's staying in our county, and what's leaving our county. And I think it gives us a really good opportunity to vet out a system, to learn how to do this effectively, to work together. And again, it's free. I'm happy to take any questions.
Supervisor Miller.
Yeah, we saw this presentation on the Finance Committee, but I never asked, what is the quality at night of these cameras?
So in preparation for this, I was doing some work and asked for some images, and it's incredible. They work off the reflectivity of the license plate. So the vehicle imagery, and I can't answer fully, but the vehicle imagery that I saw was not as great, but the license plates stand out very clearly.
Follow up on that. How does that work with these new Road America license plates that are not typically reflective?
It won't be a problem.
It won't be?
No, because there's other states that are running non-reflective. I don't think that'll be an issue. They are, when you set up the camera, they show us per camera. And if you see on that slide there, there's different logos for some of the cameras. That was part of the negotiation of this is how to make this work along the interstate due to the width of some of the roadways and then the speed of some of the roadways. And they have different solutions for different areas and of course, different prices for each of those. But when you set them up, they show you the span and it's different for each camera set and it's where their effective span is. In good lighting, it might go further than that. In poor lighting, it'll be a bit less, but I don't think that'll affect it too much.
Continuing on that, I mean, there's obviously vehicles that have tinted covers on license plate. Does that affect your ability to see these, to see those or read those plates?
Absolutely. So I'll go back to this collects DNA of vehicles as well, right? Sure. So this was pre-AI too. I mean, the flock has been around pre-AI. Don't think that this is like some, we're pumping this to AI and it's vetting it out to us. Also, this is not a cause for arrest. This is just an investigative lead, right? Mm-hmm. But what it does is it creates the DNA of the vehicle. So it's looking to identify where's the stickers, where's the damage, what's on the car. So if you're talking, I've got in my head right now a black Cavalier. I don't know why it's a Cavalier, but that's what's in my head.
Typically what they are.
Right. And so it's a black Cavalier, tinted out windows, tinted out license plates, but maybe it's got black rims on it. So how many of those are on Highway 36 between 8 and 10 o'clock at night? Yeah. Probably one. Maybe in a really weird night, there's 2, right? But we get a lead right there. So now I go looking for that. I see that black Cavalier. Well, I know they went towards Lake Geneva. Now I can put the bolo out to Lake Geneva. Hey, I'm looking for this car. Get me a plate. and we can start working from there. It gives us a starting point.
Okay. Last question and I'll stop talking. I know that the state assembly, or I think the state passed a law. Weren't there, isn't there like a mechanism like, I'll use the James Bond reference where like the plates are able to retract or
Flippers?
Yeah. Have you seen, are there issues with that? I mean,
I mean, there's, you know, like anything you see in the movies, and we talk about it as you make your way through law enforcement, all the stuff you see in the movies at some point or another, you're going to see in real life.
Yeah.
So I've seen them. I don't think it's a huge issue, but again, I would go back to vehicle DNA in this context, right? So if we were to say have that gas drive off and there's no plate at Quick Trip,
yeah,
but now I find that matching vehicle and hey, what do you know? There's a plate on it. That's a lead for me, right? So now I've got the matching vehicle, the whole DNA matches on that vehicle, and now the plate's down because they're driving away and they think that they're not going to get caught for it. Well, I might want to go look and see if there's a flipper when I ask them to pay for their gas.
Sure.
Right.
Sorry. Just
go ahead.
Last question, I promise. How does this translate then from like a municipal standpoint? Just, I mean, so if you locate them and then like from a ticketing standpoint, like you go and show up at their house, I mean, to issue them a citation or do they get a citation in the mail? I'm just thinking from my role as a judge.
This is not a citation system at all. There's no speed camera involved, no nothing. So that would just be, it's an investigatory lead. So that would lead to the investigation and however they determine to deal with it. Now, I'd have to look, I'll be honest, it's been a little while since I've actually done proactive enforcement, right? I'd have to look and see what the statute is on flippers. I'm sure it's probably a criminal charge. That'd be my guess.
Right.
But one way or another, there would be some penalties coming to them.
But this would be used as evidence, correct?
This would be used as evidence, absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Supervisor Hopkins?
I was just curious, that last slide, what accounts for the difference in the icons?
Sure.
It's two different icons.
Yep. So the icons with the circles and the dots, and actually there should be more if we talked about specifically what cameras are where. So I'll just run through this a little bit more in detail. The cameras that show just the camera photo, that is just a camera that's collecting the data. The circles and the dots, once we got into negotiating, we ended up getting live view on those. So that would be like a normal surveillance camera that you'd have anywhere. So let's just say we have a crash at 45 and 20, and I've got officers that are coming from a long ways off. The dispatcher can flip it on, see live view and go, oh, that's really bad. Let's start rescue. They can start giving us information. Hey, you're not going to be able to get in from this direction, or you need to shut this road down immediately. So we placed them in the places that we thought were going to be the most likely for those types of situations that can inform our response to bad traffic incidents in those areas. Now, the reason that happened, when I started negotiating, they came back with some better options. But we wanted to get those cameras on the bookends of the interstate. So when you look, right where you see the 195 on there, there's one kind of like dead center of the interstate. If you look all the way at the north end, there's another one just south of that 41 there. What that does is it bookends the incoming side of both of the interstate with something called high-speed cameras. They're 4-lane up to 100+ miles an hour, picks up all the lanes of traffic. That cost me a little bit different to be able to get that worked in there. So then it was just how do we make the rest work and manage and massage this? And once we had everything massaged out, this is where we ended.
Is this live versus static?
Yeah.
Images.
Yep. But the images, so yeah, correct. But everything is only retained for 30 days, then it dumps.
All right, that was,
Yep.
I was like, what is the difference with
Yep.
this? Sorry, thanks for clarifying it.
Yeah.
Supervisor Spencer?
Thank you. If I remember back in June, this started off as like a gun running project. It was I-94 corridor.
This is attached to the VCRI initiative. So, yep.
VCRI
Yeah.
initiative to
Yep.
find.
So it's a violent crime initiative. So this allows us to definitely target violent crimes, but I think that the scope and scale of the impact cannot be undersold. So we got granted the grant because the state identified this as, yes, it would be effective in targeting violent crimes. Yes, this would be highly effective in us being able to go after those people that are involved in those crimes. And it has proven itself time and time again throughout the country as being really effective in situations like that. You have a shooting somewhere and we know that we're looking for a specific plate. When we know that they're on the interstate and they're going north, we have a much better chance of getting that person before they disappear than not knowing where they are.
I'm going to have several questions. That's
Go ahead.
all right. And I respect you, Captain Evans. I respect the department. But there is another side to this.
Sure.
And so I want to speak on that because I'm not going to support this. But I do appreciate that you went out and sought, more for the amount and you're working for our, supposed best interest. But I may have information you don't know about as well. So I'm just gonna kind of present what I've come up with. And so I'm speaking against Racine County Sheriff's Department expanding access to automatic license plate readers and further action with flocks. I've done some research since June when we unanimously passed the grant to get 6 cameras with first and second readings in the same meeting, which allowed for little time for any of us to look into what that means. So I'm sharing the information I've come up with. In June, Austin, Texas ended its use of helpers following revelations that the 6 guardrail policies put in place that had been violated tens of thousands of times just during their 1-year pilot program in 2024. During that year, their cameras conducted over 113 million scans of local vehicles. By the end of the pilot program, all of the guardrails had failed. Austin is now the largest city not using ALPRs to track its residents. Flock is a billion-dollar company that consistently refuses to allow an independent review to test its LPRs, according to an ACLU article that I read. There's a 13-page 2022 white paper on Flock's activities. There are alarming facts. Flock holds an expanding array of surveillance equipment. I'm sorry, I'm super tired. Of surveillance equipment that offers these grants and competes to gain market share. Then Flock increases their foothold in communities such as already offering 4 more cameras, and they stay in those communities sometimes unchallenged. Once this grant is up for us, this expensive surveillance tool will likely stay in our community. What limits do we think we will actually have to control where the data goes? We need to be vigilant and ask questions about how our local data is used now and well into the future. So I'll just throw some questions out. You can answer the ones you can. Will Racine County Sheriff's Department regularly provide to a committee a network audit of all searches performed?
I can't speak to that without consulting with the sheriff himself.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that if I can just answer 2 things that were brought up there. So where does the data go? First off, we own the data. It's our data. It's stored in a CJIS compliant cloud. So much like several other of the software companies that we contract with, as you can imagine, the data sets are ginormous. So we do a lot with CJIS compliance. That's what the 3-letter agencies all have to abide by. That's what we have to abide by for any data that we have stored within our agency. The Flock network itself and their software is CJIS compliant, and we own the data. Now that's evidenced very easily by Illinois and what they did recently with it. They cut off all access to state agencies, and Flock had to make a pivot, federal agencies. They cut off all access to federal agencies, and Flock had to immediately pivot to be able to support that, and they were able to. So the data is ours. We own it. It's not for sale. It's not out there to be used by others. It's our data, and we can do with it and share it as we see fit. So that's something that I think needs to be addressed. But what was the next question?
Provide regular audit information to a committee.
So we will regularly audit. I would be happy to answer the audit. I don't know if it's going to be something that we're going to do publicly or if that's something that we could do independently. I can't speak to that without authorization from my bosses.
I understand. And these 6 cameras that we already have, are they up and running?
We do not have any cameras. My original intention was, or my original quotes that I got from the vendors before I came in front of the board was that we would get 6 for that amount of money. I didn't like that answer. So we
But they're
negotiated a lot.
between September 1st and
So there's no cameras currently in place. What I got negotiated out was 10 cameras. So should you vote yes today, which I hope you will, we would get 10 cameras out of it.
okay. If all the I-94 surrounding municipalities already have their own surveillance equipment, why does Racine County Sheriff's Department needs to-
Absolutely. So that, I think that's a phenomenal question. And I think it speaks to the necessity of this system, right? Right now, based on the way that they install, we can know that somebody came west, but we don't know where they went once they went west. With us lining the west side of the interstate, it allows us to know if they're still in our county and we need to continue or double down or expand our search within the county, or if we need to send this out of county because we can see they got on the interstate and we can use other resources that are at our disposal to be able to track down where that person may have gone. And I want to point back at what situations this gets used in. This is high risk situations. This is missing kids. This is domestic violence suspects that have significantly hurt people that are fleeing. This is really bad situations that we want solutions to quickly, and this allows us the opportunity to do it. It puts us in a proactive stance instead of a reactive stance. And when you have only one side of that large, massive artery covered, we just don't know where things went. This gives us an opportunity to say, hey, we've got a really good idea they're going to be going that direction. And it really cuts down the investigative needs so that we can have targeted enforcement. And I think that when you look at what the ACLU is speaking to, and I've read that paper, and what their agenda is, I think that, you know, so much of it goes back to the idea that we're enforcing on everybody. I heard you say surveilling their citizens, right? I don't want somebody surveilling me. I don't want somebody surveilling you, right? Like, we don't want that, but there has to be a balance so that we can be effective. And so it is this really, and I appreciate what your take on this. It is a delicate balance, right? It's hard, but we also don't want to say that we had a kid kidnapped and he got on the interstate and we didn't find him in time and they find him down in Gurney or south further dead. And we go, well, geez, we would have known within minutes. Within minutes, we'd have known, and we'd have had squads on him. We don't want that. So this is a delicate balance. This is hard. I don't envy you guys. I've talked to some of you this week. I don't envy a decision like this, and I know the pressure I'm sure you're getting from your constituents, or some of the stuff that's posted out there. Sometimes it's just the loud noise on the internet. This system makes sense. I was raised by a guy who wouldn't let us put his pictures on Facebook. My dad wouldn't let us put his pictures anywhere. We didn't talk about him. You didn't tell anybody about him. He was very private. Supervisor Trotter knew him. That's how I got brought up. That's how I'm kind of instilled. But we don't live in that world now. And things are difficult and things are fast. And we only have a short window to make things happen. And I'll respect everybody's vote. I understand the position you guys are in. I'm happy to answer any more questions. I'm sorry, I'm pontificating
No,
here for a
that's,
minute.
I appreciate.
Yeah.
You say that our data isn't going to be shared. We own it. And I
We own
don't
it.
think that's true in this day and age where data is everywhere and it will.
The reason I say that is because I know what the CJIS compliance requires. And so this is the same CJIS compliance that goes with our evidence.com. So the level of security that has to go to this data and our ability to cut it off has to be there. So, and you can disagree with me and that's fine. I can tell you what I did in my research and the due diligence I did coming here. But I am confident to stand in front of you and in front of everybody that could be online and say, I believe that we own the data and should we want to turn it off, we can turn off our feed.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just interject just to offer
Sure.
an additional comment on that. So in reviewing the contract materials, the terms and conditions from Flock, it addresses that particular item and makes clear that as between Flock and customer, all right, title, and interest in the customer data belong to and are retained solely by customer. It then goes on and talks about anonymized data where they retain the ability so long as it's anonymized. There is some limited opportunity for use of that, but ownership retains solely with the customer, in this instance, Racine County.
Okay, but can I continue?
Sure. You got one more question or so? Then we've got a few other supervisors want to ask questions. We'll circle back if you want.
You bet.
Supervisor Pritzker, you have a question for?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, I was just going to say that I strongly support this. presented to the Government Services Committee, and I think it's an important force multiplier. I mean, the grant is covering the initial cost, but then if we were to pay officers to be at these 10 locations 24/7 for 3 shifts, assuming $100,000 for full FTE cost for full benefits, it would cost us $3 million a year. And it would be a terrible use of their time to be sitting there just watching the traffic go by, and just be collecting this data to use it when needed. I'd be curious to see a summary of the investigations that have happened on I-94 over whatever period we might have, because I personally would be interested to know that, and maybe the other supervisor would be interested to see that. I'm sure it's alarming, and I believe you that many of those are probably not Racine County residents, but other people passing through while they're committing other crimes. I also can just speak for myself. People might not think of Burlington as having a lot of crime, but a couple of years ago, there were 3 cars stolen from the city of Burlington in one night. And they were partly found because of cameras in a McDonald's drive-through in, I believe it was Beloit. So I think it's important to have these to help solve crimes. Some of them may not seem violent to people, but if it happens to you, it's violent. Thank you.
Supervisor Horth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and certainly, Captain, as always, thank you for your service and all that you do for us. Just a couple of questions. Number one, it says, quote unquote, a multi-year contract that we're being requested to approve. What's a multi-year contract?
So it's
1, 3, 5,
2
10?
years. It's 2 years.
2 years.
I knew that we couldn't do a pilot program in 1 year with this. The problem is that it takes too long to get through permitting and installation. One of the things that we argued out was how that process was going to look. That's why you see multiple signature lines in front of you. It's 2 years.
Yep. That's all. I wanted to know what multi-year meant. Second question. When the plans were established for the department for this operating year, was this item included in the anticipation of needs for the year? Or was this in fact something that has recently come up that the department felt was necessary for us to consider?
This has been something that has been on the plans for several years. Internally, part of our strategic plans is a flock network. However, the funding for that, we just couldn't prioritize it at any point. So when this grant came up and we looked for opportunities for what could we use this for, how could we write this, I pitched this idea. This is a great opportunity for us to get a pilot program. It gives us some time to stabilize in the county. And then we can figure out if we want to keep this, we can look at the successes, we can figure out if we want to move forward with more, but it gives us an opportunity to try it and at no cost.
So again, I understood the term in here that it's a transfer of funds within the department, but in this year's plan, this was not an anticipated expense. It was a desired one.
Yeah.
But it wasn't an anticipated expense. But then when you obtained the grant, you felt at that point, this made sense to consider including this as a part of this year's operating component.
The grant was written specifically for flock, well, for LPERS, for an automatic license plate reader system.
Specifically for this?
So yes, the grant was written specifically to fund a system like this. So the grant posted and we saw that the grant was out there. And so I do a lot of digging and looking and trying to find ways to make things better, and saw the grant, read through it, came up with the idea that I think we could fund it with this. We applied for it and they granted it.
So if the board voted against this, against approving it, that grant money just goes away?
Goes back to the state.
So this basically is already been paid for, presumably, as a result of this grant being obtained.
Yeah, this is free money. The money's already here. We just got to vote to spend it.
I caution you on free money. Nothing's ever free, but I understand what you're saying. But thank you again for everything. Appreciate it.
Supervisor Rossi.
Thank you, Chairman. After our last meeting, I had a discussion with Supervisor Spencer, and we shared some concerns about the system. And most of those being the big brother items that that Captain Evans had mentioned. So that led to a discussion with Captain Evans. He might say I grilled him for some time on this item, specifically the policy that they have in place for this program, this system. And the guardrails that I would expect something like this to have. I reviewed the policy. I discussed it in depth with Captain Evans. I have confidence in this policy and that our department will adjust as needed to keep our privacy safe. I really appreciate the use of AI in this situation. And we talked about this during our budget listening session, you know, the use of AI to help reduce staff, to be a force multiplier. And this is a massive force multiplier. I think about this too in a different way. You know, I take off the your Orwellian concerns, the Big Brother concerns hat, and I witnessed something that happened to me once, and I think I wish we had the system back then. I witnessed firsthand a very violent domestic violence situation once with a very pregnant woman, and that the perpetrator of this act was never caught, despite us having a license plate and a vehicle description. And I wish we had the system at that time. This was about 12 years ago now. And because what the officer said to me that day, it still haunts me. He said, "We will likely see her next at the hospital." And that really bothered me. And I knowing that my concerns with the policy are addressed, I'm absolutely for this system. Not just for that situation. Imagine a trafficking situation that was discussed before, an Amber Alert, and so on. And I do want to say this about the Sheriff's Department. The Sheriff's Department is a beacon in this region. Giving them this tool with the appropriate guardrails is excellent, in my opinion. And that's about it. Thank you.
Supervisor Spencer.
So Supervisor Horth, I believe, behind me, I sometimes can't tell who's, brought up an interesting thing that I think still needs clarification. Back in June, didn't we approve the 6 cameras? So what
No.
we're doing tonight is approving the additional 4?
In June, we approved that we were going to accept the grant. I was asked at that time how much I thought that was going to buy us. So at that time, we accepted the 75,000. I said that I thought we were going to get 6 cameras because that was the quote that I had from everybody. I told everyone that I intended to negotiate and I was going to go to work. I got to work and I think we came out with a pretty good system here. So,
Okay.
yep.
So I misunderstood a little bit, but I do still want to carry on with some of the points. If that's all right.
Okay.
So skipping some, the Racine County Sheriff's Department has its contract, but data can and certainly will be accessed by anyone with the proper equipment. And I don't know your guardrails, but I've read what I've read about Austin and some other places where the breaches are there and they happen, and it's available to federal, it's available to state, and it's, you know, it's a breach of contract. Yes, the data's out there, and I don't know how that can be, you know, tightened as you say we own it. So this is shared data, not necessarily protected data, and who it's shared with is out of our hands. ALPRs can be used as tools to capture and detain historically marginalized people in our community. There's a broad coalition of stakeholders who have mobilized against ALPRs. They include advocates for immigration justice, reproductive choice, criminal legal reform, and electronic privacy, to name a few. The concerns about privacy and the potential for misuse during this time of duress for certain groups of people, along with the broad implications that data can be shared with anyone at any time, propel me to vote against accepting this grant. And I have a list of resources if anybody else is interested.
Any further? Supervisor Cole.
To go with Supervisor Spencer, or maybe this is even more for corporate counsel. If, say, one of her worries is that the license plate reader was used by ICE, would that give us an immediate out for the contract, or would there be legal repercussions?
Flock does not have the ability to share our data.
But I'm saying one of
Because-
her worries
so,
is,
sure.
but
Let me just explain a little bit about how the system works. First, Flock can access anonymized data. So they want to know, like, how many reads do we get a year so they can sell that, right? Because they're gonna say, oh, we had 5 million reads a year or whatever it is. They get anonymized data. They don't even get to see like who it is or where it's from. Our data, we don't share unless we authorize the share. We have to go in and say, Racine PD wants to get our data. They send us an invite and we go, yeah, we'll share with them. They don't get to see ours without asking us to see it. So we have to set that up, which is exactly what the state of Illinois went through. And they have now cut off in the state, I believe they legislated it, that nobody can share flock data with federal agencies. So if that became a law, we would have to comply. Currently, that's not, and it's within our purview. What one cop knows, all cops know, which is a Supreme Court rule. So we do share with other law enforcement for the purpose of investigation, much like what Supervisor Prisker said. You know, there was vehicles that were stolen and they were found over, you know, halfway across the state. And like Supervisor Rossi's story, we know that somebody in a situation like that, likely, if they fled that scene, they're probably going to steal a car in short order, right? So the sooner that we can get on that person and get them into custody, the better.
Any further questions?
Mr. Chairman, I can address at least that in part, that the terms and conditions do allow for service interruption, service suspension by the parties in the event of any such misuse.
I would also address that our policy is strong. If you read instead of just the audit, if you read the onset of our policy, the first page, misuse of our system is going to be dealt with handily and rapidly. What I'm looking for in the audit portion that I spoke with Supervisor Rossi about and I spoke about earlier is how to make our audit really effective. How to make this something that's going to produce results so that we don't have to worry about bumping up against guardrails. We're proactively finding it. So I'm working through ways to do that. But you know, the sheriff's office as a whole, we have shown that we rapidly deal with their internal problems. If somebody misuses a system, they're going to face stiff penalties.
Supervisor Wishaw.
Thank you. There were questions that I got from constituents on this, and the research that I found was questions that I were asked was, does this constitute a Fourth Amendment violation? And the research I found was the answer was no. There is no case law in Wisconsin or anywhere, quite frankly, that constitute this being a Fourth Amendment violation. I mean, there are split rulings so far that say no, there is not a Fourth Amendment violation, but then there are others that say that it may require a warrant. But again, until there's actually a definitive ruling, that does not constitute a violation of your Fourth Amendment rights. So I'm going to vote yes on this because I think this is a great tool for you folks to use. I respect the dissenting opinions and the concerns of my colleagues, but I think the tools and the risks that our friends in law enforcement need to use this for outweigh those. So I'm going to vote yes. I'm going to call the question.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to make one comment. In today's day and age where we've all got one of these tracking us, or you go to the grocery store and your image on your are recorded when you're buying things. You're going to a bank. You go today. I was out at a hardware store and I looked up and there was cameras watching. We're really handcuffing us if we don't cover the 12 miles of interstate here. I mean, that's with the public safety. You know, I know there's another one up on the north end of Highway 36, probably with the State Patrol or the Transportation Department. So you got both ends of 36 covered. So with that, this is a 2/3 majority.
Mr. Chairman, just one last very brief comment. I just wanted to
Yes.
expand on an answer I gave to Supervisor Kolb regarding the service interruption or suspension in the event of misuse. It's more broad than that. It allows the parties to terminate the agreement really for any reason at all with 30 days notice.
Okay, so this is a 2/3 majority vote. We all lock in or log in.
All voted and motion carries 15 in favor, 1 against.
Item number 13, reconsiderations of resolutions and ordinance from previous meetings and or action on vetoes.
There are no items.
Reconsideration and or notice of intent to reconsider resolutions and ordinances.
There is no notice.
Informational reports.
None on tonight's agenda.
Miscellaneous business. Supervisor Troutiger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of notes here. Youth and Governance Tour is tomorrow evening at the Marina, Reef Point Brew House specifically, 5:30. There's pizza that is going to be served, and the Youth and Governance Project will be discussed. Second announcement on behalf of Melissa. September 17th at 5 PM is Government Services in conjunction with the FHR committee meeting. And one more on behalf of Melissa. Willow Newell, former Youth and Governance representative, was at the Miss America pageant this past week. Unfortunately, she did not win. Thank you.
Supervisor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Earlier this evening, I placed on your desk a library passport from the Prairie Lakes Library System. It is an invitation to visit any and all of the 22 libraries of the system, which are from Racine, Walworth, and Rock County. And each library has a page with 5 interesting facts. So if you want to do a little adventure, explore the libraries in our system.
Supervisor Horth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just thought I'd let the members of the board know that the town of Waterford and Village of Waterford have hired a new police chief. That's been an obvious ongoing topic of conversation. His name is Timothy O'Neill. He most recently was with the Sturtevant Police Department. So we're pleased to have that position filled and try to get that department moving forward. So anyway, thank you very much. And oh, by the way, Supervisor Trottier, if she was in the Miss American pageant, she did win. She did win.
We are adjourned.